Hi everyone, welcome to another Thursday night live stream. I'm just playing around with my light, and I'll just oh no, that's not, I'm not a fan of that. I'll just wait a couple of minutes to see if anyone is around and wanting to join. But for now, hello. It's Nicole here for anyone that doesn't recognize my voice because you'll only be seeing my hands today. So tonight, I'll just pop this up, there we go, in the corner. We are doing a live stream on how to pick up the perfect acrylic bead and talking a little bit about your ratios and stuff. Yeah, so if you're around, definitely say hi and see if there's any questions you want to ask. Feel free to ask away, and I will be here to answer them. I'm just having a quick look at that. That's cool. Cool. Just wait another little bit. But anyway, I hope everyone's had a really good Thursday. We're almost, what is that? We are almost at the end of the week, which is very exciting. I know I'm excited for the end of the week. I'm just going to clean whatever that is off my practice sheet because that is gross. I think it's acrylic. Feels like it. Love that. Yeah, so what is everyone up to this weekend? I hope you've all got something exciting to look forward to. I have got a third birthday party to go to, my best friend's daughter's third birthday. Yeah, and I'm sure a few of you have heard me talking about it in lessons. I'm making a unicorn cake, so that is going to be fun. Anyway, we're not here to talk about unicorn cakes. We're here to talk about our acrylic beads. So first up, I've got my dip and dish with my monomer in it. I find it really handy to have a really heavy, let me tilt that up a little, really heavy dip and dish. I know some people use ones like this, the little glass one, but I find for starters, your brush doesn't actually fit nicely into the bottom when you go to pick the monomer up. And secondly, when you go to wipe off the brush, even if it's got monomer in it, it just travels and that aggravates me. So my ceramic dip and dish, which is an artistic one, it just doesn't have the logo on it anymore, is my go-to because as you can see, you can get right down to the bottom. Jokes, you can't see that. But then when you're wiping, of course it moved a little bit then, you don't need to let go of your client's hand and hold on to the dip and dish while you wipe your brush, which I find very handy. So for starters, yeah, you want monomer in your dip and dish and you want to have prepped your brush. This brush I use, so it's already prepped. And on that note, when you are putting your brush away, you want to make sure that you are running clean monomer through it before you put it away when you're finished with it, so that it is nice and clean and not gunky for the next time you use it. If there's any residue in the bristles, that is going to polymerize and just go gluggy and gross, and then when you come to pull out your brush next time you want to use it, it is going to be funky, and then that is a whole nother issue, having to deal with a gunky brush. So yes, that is that. But yeah, once you've obviously done that, you want to push to pick up your bead. I'm going to choose, just because you'll be able to see it a bit better on camera, the blush pink powder to start with. But I've got a range to show you guys. But yeah, when you pick up your bead, when you pick up your monomer in your brush, you want to push right down to the bottom of the dip and dish and then be wiping. Let me move this in a little. Wiping your brush either down the side of the dip and dish, depending on the amount of bristles you wipe on the side of the dip and dish will depend on what size bead you want. So if you want a really small bead, you will be wiping about 3/4 of your bristles. If you're wanting a medium-sized bead, you'll be doing half. And if you want a large bead, you'll be doing just the last quarter, or like the tip of the brush, basically. And that just allows more monomer to be in the brush to pick up the powder. So, as we were, hopefully we can see this. I will try and zoom in a bit. I don't think I can zoom in. Okay, we will just deal with it. So I'm going to pick up a medium-sized bead. So I'm wiping half my bristles and then flipping my brush over. You can't see, but I've flipped it over to be using the wettest side down. And then on a 45-degree angle, you're going to be pressing into your acrylic powder and wait for that to go nice and creamy. And then place that down, and you'll be able to see that in the corner. It is settling, and it will flow out a little bit more on the plastic sheet than it would be on a human hand, because a human hand is warm and a plastic sheet is nice and cold and just not nice. Like it won't start polymerizing straight away. So it is gonna like spread out, lose some height and whatnot. But I think, yeah, like it's natural to do it on here, but if it's happening on a hand, you've definitely got something going on with your ratios. So we'll do that again. We'll pick up some monomer, say half, and then remember to, if there's a divot in your powder, to be tapping your tub of powder rather than shaking it. You don't want to put air through it. And then on a 45-degree angle, you've got to press 1, 2, 3, and then hopefully we can see that. And then let that settle, and then pop it on there. And that's relaxing. And then as well, you should be able to see when my brush, when my brushes let go of the acrylic bead, there's little to no residue on that brush as well, and that's ideal. If you've got a lot of residue on your brush, when you go, oh, that didn't even do it, but if you've got lots of residue on your brush, your bead is too dry, too wet. And as you can see with that terrible bead that I just picked up, it has pulled out a lot more than these other two that were an ideal ratio, I would say. My room's a bit cold and the plastic sheet is cold as well, so that doesn't help. And then just a reminder, with your ideal bead, the ratio of liquid to powder should be 2 to 1. And if you've got a ratio of greater than 3 parts monomer to 1 part powder, your beads are definitely too wet. Yeah, so there's that. I'm going to pick up another one again, an ideal one. Tap the excess out, and then press 1, 2, 3, and then I'll see if you guys can see that. So that's relaxing and going nice and glossy, or creamy, I should say. And then I've placed that down on the sheet, and that is just resting nicely. And then obviously use the belly of your brush to pat out as per what you need on your nail. So that is that. That's doing some medium beads. I will also say, when you are picking up an acrylic bead, you don't want to be going straight up and down, picking up like this, because you're then going to have, if you can see, you're then going to have acrylic on both sides, and then when you let go, it's going to be all over your brush still and just not be very nice. And then again, you also don't want to be too flat or drag through the powder. So you definitely want to be pressing into the powder, rather than, I'll show you what happens if you were to drag through the powder. So if you drag, it goes way away up the brush. I'm just going to wipe that there. And then if you press like you're ideally supposed to, this 1, 2, 3, you've got a nice bead that is formed on the tip of the bristles, which is ideal. And then that is there. So yeah, you can see I've got a bit of variation. Obviously, the longer I have left these, the further out they have pulled, which is fine, being on a sheet. So yeah, don't dip your brush, don't drag your brush. You want your bead to be on one side of the brush. Let me try. And like in a nice ball down on the tip of the brush. Then I'm going to do some with concealer just to show you the difference. So you need to work slightly drier with concealer and with our white powders as well. So I'm going to dip into here, and then you should definitely be able to see that turn from grainy into creamy, and then pop that down. And then my brush was nice and clean. And then what I've done as well, once I've placed that down, I'm actually coming back to my clean part of my table towel and wiping my brush off. You always want to make sure you're cleaning your brush after every bead, and that you're working with a nice clean brush. If you're working with a dirty brush, that's going to make your job much harder. Yeah, so I think that is all about picking up. And then I will run through some tips or indicators, I guess, for what you'd be looking for in the perfect bead and what would be too wet. So for the perfect bead, you'd want it to turn nice and creamy. You'd also want to have it forming a spear like so on the bead, on the brush, like that, and then place it down. And then again, little to no residue left on the brush. And then I just can't help myself but to pack that out. And you also, you want it to be a nice sphere. You don't want it to be flat or anything like that. And then indicators of a bead that is too wet. So if you answer yes to any of these indicators, does it settle or flow out immediately? Like, for example, that it's flowing out straight away. That is 100% too wet. Also, the height dropped quite a lot, basically instantly. Oh yeah, that's wet as. If it loses most of its shape again, which this one has, it kind of just went everywhere. And then is there a ring of monomer around it, which I don't think there is. Oh, there is maybe a slight one, where it's quite translucent at the edges. That is all indicators that your beads are too wet. And if you have ticked off all of those, your liquid to powder ratio is greater than 3 parts monomer to 1 part powder. So we definitely want to be looking for that 2-to-1 ratio as opposed to 3-to-1. But I wonder if we can see on camera. Let me try and bring you down a bit. Here we go. If you can see the difference between, if I turn this on, the difference between the blush and the concealer, and then I'll also do the white, because the white is a tricky one. You definitely need to work drier with that one. So there's the blush, and then here is our concealer, and then I'm going to jump over and do the white. And white's definitely a tricky one to work with. Oops, and I've just dropped it on there. I love that for me. Let's try that again. Pick up my white bead. Sorry, you guys can't actually see what I'm doing. Let's place it there. And then you can see that's quite like runny. I could have gone a bit drier, like I did with that first one that turned into a cluster. So that is the white. I'm just going to pop the lids back on so I don't spill it everywhere. And like I said earlier, your practice sheet will always react differently to what working on a warm human hand would. So don't panic if your beads do spread out a little bit on your practice sheet. I'd be like, ideally they want to be doing the right things, but also I'd be more concerned if your beads were really wet and doing all those indicators of a wet bead on a human hand, which has a bit of heat. Obviously the heat helps polymerize product. So yeah, a plastic sheet is not going to be as efficient at polymerizing than a warm human hand. You can pop like a wet pack underneath your sheet or like a warm towel, but then also you don't want to heat up your practice sheet too much. That will really throw your ratios out of whack. And then again, speaking from experience, when I learned acrylic all through the winter, and so I got my ratios right, everything was lovely. And then when I picked it up again over sort of like December, January, February, so more like summery months, I was like, what the heck, this is polymerizing way too quick. And it was because I'd kind of got used to working with ratios for a colder environment where it polymerizes slower. So keep that in mind when you're practicing as well. Yeah. And remember, I don't think I've said this yet. Your clear acrylic will always be stronger than anything that is pigmented. So if you're wanting strength, go for clear. But that's basically like rule of thumb. I will also show you, since I am here, a little bit about manipulating our beads. So I'm going to go in with blush because I like working with blush, and we can see it, so that's fine. So dip, you can't see anymore, but I'm dipping my brush, wiping halfway, flipping my brush over using the wettest side down, and pressing into my powder. 1, 2, 3. And then let that sit for a sec. And then placing it down onto my practice sheet, cleaning off my brush in the background. And then now that that's settled, I'm going to use the belly of my brush to press out to the width that I want. And then the belly of my brush to bring in or manipulate the acrylic. So it is, yeah, super important, especially when you get to doing your French and stuff like that, rather than just one color extensions, to have your ratios right so that you can use the techniques to create smile lines and manipulate your product. If you're trying to manipulate your product and it is either too runny or too wet or too dry or polymerizing too quickly, it's just going to be another obstacle for you to get your head around while you're trying to learn all these techniques as well. So most important thing is try and get your beads and ratios down packed and feel very confident with them or fairly confident with them before you get stuck into anything like our French lessons or anything like that. Yeah, especially if you're doing the overlay or something and you're a little bit unsure about how your ratios are, you can definitely check in with your mentor and they can give you a hand. Yeah, but hopefully after today, you guys will feel a little better. about picking up beads, I am going to show you clear as well. So practice again. Let's do a large bead this time. So I've just wiped off the tip and I'm just going to tap this out and then press into the powder. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to pick up a little more for good luck. You can see those grains go away and it's going nice and creamy, and then we can place that down on our practice sheet. And then I don't think you guys can see that very well. There we go. And then we can press it out. Oh, I've left that a bit too long now. But yeah, hopefully that answers some of your questions about your beads and ratios and gives you a couple more tips on and like reinforces what you've been learning in the lessons about how to pick up a perfect bead, and just manipulating. So there's that. And then as you can see, because, let me bring this up, because I have, there we are, because I've used the belly of the brush, that clear bead that's there, if it's going to focus, it is a nice consistent height the whole way across. There we go. Yeah. So nice consistent height the whole way across. That's what we want when we are manipulating our beads. And since I am here, I thought I would also show you, oh, I've glued it to my table towel. I also have, I know not a lot of you have seen these in action. I've got the VIP Silver Starlet acrylic powder, and I've got the gold medal. So I'm going to do a couple of beads of those and let you guys see those as well. Please feel free to yell through any questions that you've got at the moment. Let me, oh, now we're all out of focus, mate. Okay, there we go. Now we're focused here. That over there. I'm just going to put my lids back on my pots. I know my rule is to keep my lids on my pots because otherwise I spill them. Another tip also is to be working with, or we can't even see that, working with clean monomer. This is clean monomer, but especially with white, if you have dirty monomer, your brush is going to be dirty and your beads won't pick up as nice. So that is something that can throw you off and just be a little bit frustrating. So always keep checking that your monomer is nice and clean. And then again, when you've finished a set, make sure you clean your brush off on your table towel, get rid of the monomer that is dirty that you've been using, or regardless of whether it's dirty or not, get rid of it because it probably will be dirty even if you can't see it. And then go in with some fresh monomer and run fresh monomer through your brush. Yeah, so I have got, so this is it looks silver on camera, but it is gold. I think, what is it called? VIP gold metal. And then this other one, which you'll be able to see is silver, is VIP silver starlet. Super fun to do French with and just like fades and stuff like that. It's just fun to do instead of your typical clear or whatever. But I wouldn't build a whole nail in this. I would use it for features like flowers or French tip, or encapsulate it in clear, just because clear has that strength. So let me show you. I'm just picking up a bead of our silver and I'll place that down here. And they do definitely act a little bit different. They make your brush dirty, glitter gets everywhere, but it's worth it. So that is our silver. And then let me show you gold. That's what that one looks like when you pick it up. And place it down. Let that relax. And then these ones are very pretty. Let me see if I can bring them up a little bit for you to see. So yeah, something a little bit different, but it's still acrylic, especially if you like working with liquid and powder. That is super fun. So there's that, and now my page is a shambles. I'm just gonna pop the lids back on those. So yeah, let me know if you guys prefer the silver or the gold, or whether you like working with the OG and then adding your color, glitter, etc. over the top. For a recap, I will just jump in and do a couple more beads using our blush. So you want to wipe 3/4 of your brush for a small bead, half of your brush for a medium-sized bead, and 1/4 to the tip for a large bead. That will dictate how much monomer is going to be in your brush and how much your brush can pick up. So I'm going to go for medium. And then when you're picking up, you want to flip your wettest side of your brush down, go on a 45-degree angle and press into that powder. Not dragging, not dipping, but pressing. And then flip over, wait for that to go creamy. And then place that down on our practice sheet. And I'll do that another time just to be a bit quicker. 1, 2, 3. And place it down on the practice sheet. And again, no residue on the brush, which means your ratio is good, which is what we like. And then, yeah, you let it settle and you can go straight in with your manipulating. Yeah. I think I've managed to waffle my way through everything. Does anyone have any questions before I go? I'll do another one for good luck. Let that go. And there is our acrylic beads, and I will show you again what it looks like on the brush. So you've got that nice sphere on the tip of the bristles. And place it down, let it go, brush is nice and clean. And then that's just relaxing there. Cool. So, since nobody has any questions, I hope that I have managed to explain and go through a few tips for you about help reinforce what is ideal for picking up a perfect bead of acrylic, and what to look for, and then also some tips for what not to do when you're picking up a perfect bead of acrylic. Let me know, even at any point, even if you're watching this back, in the comments if you're struggling with a certain type of thing, and either myself or one of our other mentors will come and give you a hand with your questions. Yeah, so I would love to see how you guys are getting on, and I would like to hear if this video has helped you at all, helped anything click for you. Yeah, and just see if it's helped you out at all. And let me know if you would like to do anything else like this, similar, that's based on picking up beads, or practicing picking up beads. Any questions that you may have. Yeah, so that is me for tonight, guys. Thank you for joining me. For those of you that have joined me, I hope I've managed to answer some of your questions and, yeah, help you nut out a little bit your beads and ratios and what to be doing and what not to be doing and what to look for in a good and a bad bead. And also in the comments, let me know which one of the glitter acrylics is your favorite, and if you even knew that the glitter acrylics existed. I know some people didn't even know that they existed, so that is exciting. Surprise, they exist. um, cool. Yeah, so that is me for tonight. Thanks for joining. I will see you guys next week. Bye.